Podcast. 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 Podcast.
Podcast.
Podcast. Cat. Welcome to the podcast. This is the Biss and Steve podcast. Talking about environmental issues. Alright,
Yeah.
Steve. So, we all know the world is slowly going into decline. The environment is slowly getting destroyed piece by piece. Day by day, day after day.
Definitely
I
is.
think we could both agree that
Definitely.
this podcast is going to go over how the environment is being depleted every single day. Friends like him losing their habitats. Friends like this losing their houses.
Yup.
People like me losing their minds. Absolutely terrible things. Alright, subject number 1. Episode 1,
Pollution.
part 2, pollution. Boom. We could start off with, how is pollution occurring? Well, Justin, how is do you want to hold this? How is pollution occurring, Justin?
Pollution's occurring in lots of ways. Lots of ways. Like, people driving trucks
I mean,
with gas.
gasoline CO2 emissions, far less. I mean, far more emissions than diesel engines.
Definitely.
See, a lot of people, they see a diesel, they just see big black smoke, and they go, oh my god, pollution. That's not the case, folks.
It's
The
not.
case is, all that stuff is just unburnt CO2 falling back to the ground. CO2 that comes out of a gasoline engine is far more, and it goes into the air.
I didn't know that.
All the factors of pollution, people littering all the time, the oceans are filled with garbage, the roads are filled with garbage. I'm sure everybody here drives down the road every day, sees a road filled with garbage. Who wants
They
that?
don't do nothing about it.
Got raccoons running by, picking
Dead
up this
raccoons.
garbage, eating up this garbage.
Dead animals
And they
in the middle
die.
of the road. Yeah, no, definitely not good for the environment.
Trash in the waterways and roads, terrible thing. Another thing, factories. Factories constantly overproducing products because we are overpopulated planet, people. Alright, listen, open your minds. This is crazy. Every day, factories are running 24/7, whatever products they're producing, there's always going to be a byproduct. And that byproduct needs to be disposed of somehow. So most people, they just skimp out, dump the garbage into the river, or they burn it, goes into the atmosphere, destroys the atmosphere, destroys the oxygen levels.
And
Absolutely terrible
we got
things.
people complaining about it.
Of course we have people complaining about it. This is our planet, Justin. Friends like J-Mo the cat, they don't want to deal with this.
They don't. It's bad for the environment, for little animals and people.
Factories are always producing because we are overpopulated. Natural resources are depleting every day. For the amount of trees we use, they don't regrow fast enough for us to just keep on using them. The amount of fresh water, the amount of crude oil, all of these being used up day by day. Can't be
Definitely.
produced fast enough.
Dude, honestly, something that relates to this, but not really. Overpopulation.
I was just speaking about overpopulation. Let's delve into more overpopulation.
Overpopulation, man. This is something that's a problem.
Where did overpopulation start? 1960s, baby boomers. All right?
Bam.
Listen, houses were built, trees were destroyed, habitats were destroyed, fields were cleared out of trees just to build houses for human beings, to use up more natural resources in their houses. Absolutely terrible stuff.
And that's what gets into the pollution too.
Oh, of course. All
Resources.
this stuff being produced.
Overusing resources, over capacity of people in the household.
Food,
Yeah.
mass destruction of chickens and cows.
Yeah.
Literally chicken genocide day by day, just so you could eat your Wendy's nuggets.
Animal cruelty. No, it's a lot of
I mean, that is environmental.
It is environmental. Yeah, you're right.
You ever seen the Purdue Chicken Factory, guys?
That
You know what they do there?
terrible.
Terrible
Horrible.
things. Millions every day. Millions of lives lost.
For
Think
what?
about that.
For us.
Think about that.
For us to
Millions
eat
of
chicken.
lives. Millions.
No, you gotta respect it though.
Let's talk about deforestation.
Bro, deforestation. It's a bad one right there, Biss.
No, but actually, it's a terrible thing. You have whole fields and fields of forest, huge giant trees. You know how many animals live in there? Thousands and thousands of thousands.
Population.
Animals from
getting
this
ruined.
big to this big. And we go in there, That's a chainsaw. Tree gets cut down. We turn it into wood to build what? Tables, beds, houses, anything. Paper. And then on top of that, instead of regrowing the trees, we just build a top of their graves. Absolutely humiliating.
It is.
It's a terrible, terrible world we live in.
People should be embarrassed for themselves.
And what's happening? How do they cut down all of those trees?
Yeah, using
gasoline.
Gas.
CO2 emissions rising.
Ridiculous.
Prices rising. Gas prices rising.
Everything's rising. Everything. Bad things, good things,
JMO is rising. I am
for
rising.
the outro, you don't want to ruin things like this.
Alright, we're at 5:49.
I think that was a good run.
I think that was a pretty good run. I don't think we have much more to talk about.
Got main things covered.
Global warming, but I mean, we all know about that already.
Yeah, come on now. That's the Biss and Steve podcast.
Biss and Steve podcast.
Bow. Bow.
Grr.
Bow.
Bow. Biss and Steve. Biss and Steve podcast. You're supposed to say podcast. Podcast.